This is the Helsinki Plus 50 initiative, which was triggered 2 years ago to relaunch the organization, to make sure that this organization is valued and it's strengthened and appreciated, especially in capitals. And never like now, we actually realize how important this organization is. Some have argued that where we are now, after the 24th of February, is a failure of diplomacy. I would argue that the organization in these years has done its job. I mean, we had 1,500 monitors in Ukraine who daily were reporting on what was happening. We had the CPC, and I greet also here the CPC director and the OSCE Secretary General Helga Schmidt, who gave an early warning about what was happening. So arguing that the OSCE as such has failed in this situation, I would disagree with that. I think that the organization did what it could within the perimeter of its responsibilities. Then, of course, its participating states also have to do their own part of the bargain. But the organization as such, the Conflict Prevention Center, the mission, did provide us on a daily basis with a picture, with a fair picture of what was happening on the ground. Now, this organization needs indeed relaunching, and the call for action, the Helsinki Plus 50 initiative, is exactly the place where we want to do that. Here I greet also some of the signatories of this initiative, former President Claude Bonnes. I see connected also former President Christine Mutonen and George Steratelli. Thank you very much for participating in this event, because this is of course, about what's happening in Ukraine, but it's also to see how this organization can play a role in this terrible and tragic situation. I also greet Nikita Poturaeva. I see just connected, head of mission, head of the Ukrainian delegation to the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly. Now, what is the OSCPA? What can we do in this situation? We have been discussing this at length in the Secretariat with our leadership, and recently in a standing committee meeting with all the heads of delegations. I think the starting point is that we have to be extremely realistic about what this body can do, what the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly can do. Of course, there is a lot of outrage out there in many of our members. There's a lot of desire to contribute. There's a lot of desire to take initiatives. I think we have to start from a point that is to be extremely realistic. Realistic about what this assembly can do, what this assembly can deliver, and what this assembly can actually contribute in the situation on the ground. And I think our contribution so far has been excellent in terms of what we can do. We've had clear public messages, very strong messages from our leadership. We've had messages together with the chairman in office and the OSCE Secretary General condemning the war in Ukraine. We have come out with language which is very clear. There were concerns whether we are going to sugarcoat what we call it. Some call it a conflict, some call it an armed operation. Here in this assembly, we do not have this dilemma. We call things what they are, and we have the advantage of doing this because ever since 2014 already, we did this with the Ben Cardin resolution passed in Baku, where we called what was happening in 2014 and Crimea as a clear, gross and uncorrected violation of the Helsinki Final Act. So we do not shy away from calling things what they are, but we do not shy away from it because we're also the ones who have for many years tried to promote dialogue. So we are not the ones who should be addressed as those who are simply condemning what's happening. No, we have for a long time trying to create conditions of dialogue. President Krivokapic in 2013 actually went to visit Moscow and 2014, sorry, went to visit Moscow and Kiev, and then called the two delegations in Vienna for a meeting facilitated by a bureau at the time. So we have taken initiatives to promote dialogue between the delegations. This is something that we are, of course, standing ready to do also at this time and place. But of course, we want to be realistic again, and we don't want to get in the way of what is happening. There is already a track of negotiations with official delegations appointed by both governments. So far, unfortunately, they failed to deliver on at least one important priority, which is creating humanitarian corridors for the people in Mariupol. And this is very regrettable. But our initiatives as Parliamentary Assembly should not get in the way of what is currently going. And also starting from, as I said several times, the realistic point that we know we are not going to be the body who can bring a solution to this. It has to be other actors, and mainly, I would say, one actor. But we will, of course, stand ready to provide our contribution. We have had recently a field visit on the border between Ukraine and Poland, and here I see Barbara Bartusz and the Polish delegation connected. I would like to thank you very much, Barbara, for hosting a delegation coming to see the efforts that the Polish authorities have put together for, at least at that time, it was 1,700,000. I'm sure this is a date that needs to be updated every hour, but the huge effort that your government and your authorities and the local authorities are doing. But we've also witnessed the great effort that the people, the volunteers, the ordinary people. So there is not only in Poland, but I would say in all neighboring countries and in Europe in general, an outburst of generosity, which I really hope will be sustainable in the long term, because of course there is a lot of generosity and a desire to help in a moment when you see pictures on the screens that are very touchy, but we need to make sure that this solidarity and this support to Ukraine is stable and sustainable throughout the spring, the summer, until a solution to this terrible tragedy is found. And here I would conclude looking at Nikita and saying that, of course, in Europe, we're very well aware that your struggle is a struggle for the value we believe in. We believe in democracy, we believe in freedom, we believe in all the values that are in the decalogue of the OSCE and the Helsinki Final Act, and you are on the forefront defending them. And I think this is a good test for all our institutions of the multilateral arrangements to see if we can pass this test, if we can really also defend with concrete deeds the values that we often proclaim from maybe comfortable places like Copenhagen, where I'm talking to you from, or from New York, where the president spoke to you before. But we need to indeed pass the test that you are passing and on a day-to-day basis going through in Kiev, in Mariupol, in Odessa, and in other cities which are under attack. So with these remarks, I thank Ambassador Zanier for taking the lead in this initiative. I think it's a very timely initiative, and it's good that we also don't have only the OSCE parliamentarians, but also experts. I see that there is the High Commissioner for National Minorities, my friend Kairat, and also colleagues from the ODIHR who will speak in this debate. So I thank you for participating and for your contribution. Thank you very much.